I'm down here somewhere. Yeah, so now we've got the drive shafts back in, I can put gearbox oil in it. You can't see my face because I'm pointing at the engine, but look, it's lit. So what I'm going to do is switch to phone mode again. Look, woo. There's me filming you, that's not that rubbish. Right, so this has got a torch. So that down there is the gearbox breather. See? Basically that's just like a cover, so that is just a vent straight into the gearbox. Well, that's a bit of wiring, but there you go, there's the gearbox inside. And that is where the oil vapours come out, and then this little cover goes over the top. That allows vapours to come out but stops undesirables going in. So the reason why I'm looking at the gearbox breather is because that's where I'm going to put the oil in. If air can come out, oil must be able to go in. And there isn't a fill point for this gearbox. But what I've found is that according to this book, recommended oil capacity, ML5C, which I believe this transmission is, 2.1 litres. So what should happen is I put this book down somewhere without getting it oily. I'm hoping to fill the oil through the breather housing, and then on the side of the gearbox was that little reverse gear indent thing. And I think what will happen is I'll get to 2 litres, I'll start putting in the 3rd litre, and hopefully when I get to 0.1 or just over 0.1, it'll just start dribbling out, in which case I'll replace it, do it all up, and the job is done. That's the plan. I'm pretty sure I've read somewhere that that overflows when it's at the right level, so we'll find out. Otherwise I'm going to have to measure out oil. Total Traxium Gear 8, 7580. These gearboxes do use 7580. 7590 is the more common viscosity, but has it got a spout? Oh wow. I don't know, but that's pretty. Look at that. Lift and pull. Oh. No. Oh. Stinks. Right, so I now got my funnel, and it has on the bottom a little end. Now that will go inside the breather, like so, and then what I can do is simply, that's going to become mildly infuriating, to think outside the box. There we go. That should hold that in place, because what I don't want is to fill up the top with oil. I mean, it probably could take a litre's worth, and then the weight of a litre's worth of gearbox oil to go before I do this. That would be bad. Do I need to check that I did up the drain plug? No, it'd be fine. I can't see any oil on the floor, which can only really be a good sign. We get to do that thing again, look. Look. Oh no, don't break it. Ready? Oh, God. I'll forgive the lack of a pull-out spout, because that is satisfying. No oil on the floor yet, that's good. So yeah, this should take 2.1 litres. So, I mean, if it doesn't start to spill out, then I may measure the other 0.1 litres in a jug anyway. There we go, so the oil's going down there. Ooh. And then down there, all the way down there, into the top gearbox. And then the light's not on. There appears to be nothing on the floor yet. There is a bit of oil in the box there. That's residue. Well, I'm going to call that complete. So we just put the cap back over there, and then what I'll need to do is refit. There's a bolt in there which I've left in place. So then I refit this cable. Which is proving slightly tricky. There we go. Just try to get the thread started on the nut. But yeah, in some cases you do fill till it spills. I would like that to have spilt at the same time, because it's kind of like a little validation that you have got the right level in it. But the book says 2.1. I've put over 2.1 in it. I couldn't even see it on that hole on the side of the gearbox there, and it's not like the car's jacked up. It's not like, you know, sometimes if the car's tipped to one side or arse on the floor, nose in the air, that can screw things up like that. So you have to take that into account, but it's not. It's lifted evenly. It's on a 2-poster, so I'm just going to say, I mean, 2 litres is about the right quantity for a gearbox anyway. Most gearboxes on a front-wheel drive car do take about 2 litres. So the battery tray will go back in next, but before I do that, there's a lot of crud down inside underneath where it goes. I'm going to clear that out first and probably shut my eyes when I do it, because ugh. God, compressed air is useful. Rude not to do that, I suppose. There we go, but it's gone all over the engine again, hasn't it? So there's the elephant's trunk, and that went under. I'll get that wire back out of the way. That went under there. I've just sprayed a load of underseal underneath this as well, just to put stop to any other corrosion that wants to rear its ugly head. It's not quite long enough, that. I have gone around the engine bay and rehoused any loose wires or cables or hoses in their respective clips, because I'm not an animal. I'll put everything where it's meant to be. Right. Now what I don't have... Was there a Jubilee clip on? Oh no, there wasn't, was there? Let's move you. No, there wasn't a Jubilee clip on that, was there? There was a big cable tie, randomly. I think originally that would have had probably one of those big band clamp, sort of CV boot style, and not entirely sure what to put on it now. Maybe another Jubilee cable tie. The air filter in here, it's a bit grubby, but it's oh, I mean, I've not been tasked with changing that, and so I'm not going to, but it does need changing. But I believe the new owner's doing that. He, to be fair, he probably wants something he can do on it himself. If at first you don't succeed, shake everything around until it clicks in. Or brakes, one of them. Right, that's the airflow meter plugged back in. This is what looks like a boost sensor down on the bulkhead. Get everything back in its slot, that's satisfying. Right, so that's that. The gearbox oil is done. Is it leaking? No. Nope, that's good. I've got things left to do, like the arch liners to go in the wheel arches, and that kind of connects the bumper here, but I also have the I've got an oil filter to change while it's up on the ramp. I need to sort out the suspension fluid. Brakes are a problem. We still don't have a rear brake caliper, the one that's missing, and I don't have either of the new front brake calipers that I'm waiting for. I've put the discs on and the carriers, but I'm waiting for those parts. They're not due till tomorrow. Coolant is also something else it needs. In fact, coolant can go in. That can go in soon. Or when I say soon, I mean like now. And LDS as well. Caution, this high pressure hydraulic circuit is decontaminated. No intervention, no service outside Citroën approved network. Ooh. Ooh, we really are rebels, aren't we? Okay. Well, it's going to need some fluid in it when I start it to go around the power steering system. We don't want to wreck the power steering pump by running it dry. Here is the LDS, which is not LHM. Oh, and this has got a posh. No, it hasn't. It's got a security cap. So, seeing as all my LDS lines are reconnected, let's pour some in. Of course, the whole system won't be empty because there'll be a fair bit of it still in the suspension. But the power steering will be empty, where certainly everything above the height of that hose on the bulkhead. And then if we start the engine up without any fluid in there, it's the wrong cap, the pump will run dry and that won't do it any good. So the thing to do will be to put some fluid in it. It won't actually bleed in fully until the wheels are on the ground. There will be air in it and it will stay that way until the wheels are on the deck. Just turning the steering on the spot on the ramp probably won't do it, for the reason that the steering rack, or the valves in the steering rack pinion are operated by I call it a torsion bar. Is that recording? Yes. It's what's known as a torsion bar, so it's like a rod that twists, and it's the amount that rod twists, or the load placed on it, that operates the valves to allow the fluid to pass through the pinion. If there's no force being put onto the bar, or no force being put onto the wheel, then the power steering doesn't do anything, because why would it? It's just supposed to assist you, unless you have an SM. SMs have powered steering. Did I mention I have an SM? I bought a Citroën SM. I know. It's amazing. I've done so much with it too. There's a little platform in the bottom of this filler neck here. There's a little platform in there, and I'm filling it until the fluid's kind of at that level, but it may well be that it needs more. Again, to check the level on it, I've actually got to plug it into a computer, let the system depressurize, and on this car, depressurizing means it will drop, it will sink to the ground, and then you check the level. Now he's given me some coolant. Where it's gone, for the life of me, I can't remember. Loads of little bottles of it, which is quite peculiar. Ah, it's buried. Oh dear. So the stuff he's got is pressed stone, ready to use. That seems a little unenvironmentally friendly, because that means at least a certain percentage of that, perhaps 50, is going to be water. So you're just paying to transport water around, which seems a bit daft, seeing as most of the world is covered by it. Yellow coolant. Oh no, it's green. So I'm putting bright green fluid into a Citroën. Nothing abnormal there. Except I'm putting it in the coolant, which normally would be disastrous. But in this instance, it's correct. Now this system should bleed itself, because it's got a little hose coming off the top of the radiator, a little one, which comes straight back up to this tank. That. I actually think the next thing I'm going to do is change the exhaust. I know that sounds odd, but there's a reason. So you might be wondering, why am I going to change the exhaust before I've got the engine running and bled in and the gearbox oil checked and everything done at that end? Why am I doing the exhaust now? I don't know actually. Why am I doing the exhaust now? Oh yeah. So basically the exhaust is going to go together with some putty. Well, not putty, but sealant. And on the sealant bottle or tube, because that's what it comes in, not a bottle, it says you leave it secure for 18 to 24 hours before use. And I'm not going to do that. So I thought, well, if I put it in ASAP, i.e. now, then when I go off and do all the other bits and bobs I've got left to do, it will give it at least an hour. The thing is, it doesn't. That sounds a bit bodget and scarper. It doesn't actually need sealant anyway. It's they're designed to be dry joints. I'm just putting it in as an insurance thing, and I have used it in that manner before. And unless it's something you actually really need to seal, as in something that is troublesome, and you have to be very particular about how you do it. On an exhaust, you can kind of get away with floating around, because what it can't do is, while the sealant hasn't set, if it's got air pressure going through the exhaust and that blows the sealant out and causes it to bubble and spill out the cracks and things it's in, that's when you get trouble. But that shouldn't happen. All this is really doing is kind of just an extra seal, if you like. But yeah, this exhaust it's incomplete, and it's there, but you sort of think to yourself, well, why are you changing it? But it's a bit thin. It looks like it's about to snap. I have seen little stains around here. I'll switch to phone cam, and now you can see there's a little stain. And looking at the wastage in the metal around here, that exhaust has not got long left at all. That is on the brink of a motorway hard shoulder breakdown, I would say. Very thin around here too. So yeah, I think the best thing to do is junk it. And it's rough around the mount there, but this section here was quite cheap, and then the silencer is just a silencer. I haven't got any new rubbers. I did ask for them, he hasn't sent them. So, well, he probably has, they probably haven't been posted yet. That seems to be the running theme with this car. So yeah, that's the next thing to do. So the exhaust's now on. I've been along it, I've tried to pick off the stickers, I can't get them off, so I'm going to start the engine and let them burn. That'll do. So these have been on a little while. The sealant is, I mean, it's still tacky, but it's not sticky anymore. Well, it is sticky, that's what tacky is, but it's not. It would drag. If I took my finger across it, it would start peeling it off. It wouldn't just reshape it, so it started to go off. I have no brake caliper for the offside rear. I have no brake calipers for the front, so I can't complete that. I can't do the suspension and power steering because I need to put it on its wheels to do that. And while I could fart about and put wheels back on it and everything with it as it is, I'd rather just wait until the brakes are here so that I can do it all in one hit. But they're not going to be here. That means that because the brake calipers aren't here today, they won't be filmed going on, because this is the last day of filming on this job with it up on the ramp. This is it. Cecily will be coming off the ramp, well, hopefully tomorrow, because it's only been up here like over a week. Yeah, and this is the last day of filming I have, because this is also a business, and while this is a paying job, it is only one paying job, and there are other paying jobs, and you have to, it's like plate spinning. Everything's a project. You imagine how, like, you know, a project car takes months and months, years and years, whatever, and there's all these gags about how long project cars take, Project Binky, everything like that. Well, now imagine you've got 5, 6, 7 paying customers having them done as well, so it's, yeah, it's time consuming. So this is really eating up too much of my time. I don't mind, you know, life's about living. Life is about doing things that are enjoyable and interesting. And although it's a C5, it is fairly enjoyable and interesting to work on this car and to see the love there is for it, actually. I think Ian must be surprised. Well, no, he might not be. He probably knows. He probably gets a feeling for how popular his cars are. But there seemed to be a lot of people that were championing this car when he had it and didn't want him to sell it. Well, obviously, I was reading all that thinking, you have to let him sell it. He's got Betty. Just let it go. Let the C5 go. He has Betty. But nobody knew that at the time. They thought he'd end up with a Mitsubishi Charisma or something. So I bet he does one day. But yeah. So now this is all good. So I think, what have I got left? I've got arch liners at the front. The gearbox hasn't leaked at all. Obviously there are some tidbits inside to sort. I've done a bit of underseal as well. I've given it a good coat of underseal along the sills, all around the front arches, anything that looked like it was a vulnerable area. But it's actually in really good shape, to be honest. It's in, you know, considering its age, I wouldn't say, it certainly doesn't look any older under here than my C6 does. And my C6 is a good 6-7 years younger. So yeah, I think on the whole, fairly good. New owner's going to sort out something with these tank straps, because they are, yep, not touching that one anymore. Yeah, they're not in the best shape. But on the whole, this is good for Cecily. It's going to give her a new lease of life. This is one of the jobs that could have scrapped the car, and I think if it was in any other type of ownership, if it was just a, you know, a normal person who wouldn't spend a load of money on a Citroën C5, then yeah, it would have been a scrap car, wouldn't it? That's a big job, that clutch is a pain. I do have another job. Yes, bump stops. These, I think the old ones are kicking about somewhere. So that's what's come off the car. Not a lot of that left. What it should look like is that. It's not a sex toy. Yes. So it's not the colour so much, obviously, it's the height. This looks like marshmallow. It's not. But yeah, that's what it should be. Now, on an old Citroën, something like a BX, these are sort of solid round lumps. They're just a dome. And when you bottom a BX out, it's, you know, it's not progressive, it's boom, bottomed out. Well, this car, these are quite progressive. I've fitted these to a BX once, although they were genuine ones actually. So, they weren't white. And I fitted them to a BX, and because they're much higher, it gave it a cushioning effect, so it really improved the ride. If you bottom the car out, gone. If you bottom the car out, then it didn't really cause any problems. It was quite soft. Obviously with the BX and DSs and CXs and SMs, when you switch them off, they sink over time. Xantia's very, very early ones did, as did some XMs, but then a lot of them also had anti-sink systems fitted, which was effectively another sphere, another accumulator sphere, and it used that pressure to activate, I believe, a valve which restored the pressure to stop the cylinders emptying, basically. It isolated it, or something along those lines. And they didn't really sink, and these cars don't really sink. Now, because BXs and CXs and everything like that, because they sink, the bump stops get a hard time, because when the car sinks, it ends up sitting on them. But these don't, so why the hell it's eaten through it that quickly, wherever it went, I don't know. Some very vigorous driving, so I shall fit those shortly. So it'll be the bump stops, arch liners, I've got my oil change to do. I shall probably just do that. I may do that today actually, but yeah, for the most part it's done. And then the bigger thing really will be the road testing and everything, making sure it actually works, which would be good. Yeah, she's slightly endearing, I'll give her that. There's something about this car, it gives an honest quality. It kind of feels like it's an honest car. It's faithful. Probably alluded to it before another day. I was kind of getting deja vu, but I think it was quite similar to my old Picasso, where I didn't like it. It wasn't a nice car. It wasn't a car that you loved. It wasn't a car that you cherished driving, because it wasn't very nice to drive. It wasn't bad to drive, but it wasn't nice to drive. It was just a drive. It was just there. But it just did the job so well. We just respected it. Didn't like it. It was pig ugly, not particularly comfortable, not particularly nice to sit in. But you just respected it so much, and it looked out for you, and it was just looked out for you and your occupants and all your stuff, and you knew that, you know, you just had this feeling that you were going to make it to wherever it was you were heading. There was no trepidation. You were pretty confident you were going to make it. And CECILY does give that vibe. So I think the new owner, Phil, I think he's going to have many, I think he'll have many happy miles. And he arranges sort of continental road trips. Citroën Classic Challenges, I think is what he normally calls them, where a whole convoy of old Citroëns, or old-ish Citroëns, go on various road trips around France. And I suspect, although this is, yeah, okay, it's a bit newer, it's not quite the adventure as doing it in a BX or a GS or a CX or something, but it will be comfortable in this, it will be frugal in this, be refined in this, and it won't be any stress in this. It will be quite relaxing. That means you can just sit back and look out the window and look at the view. Well, obviously look at the road as well, but look at the view. And then when you do get somewhere and you have to park up, I know when I took my BX to France a little while ago, my 16 valve, I parked it in the street and I thought, anyone looking at my car? Like, don't look at it. You know, as soon as there was anyone near it, I was, who's that? What are you doing? Whereas in this, you wouldn't. You just park it up and walk off. No one will look at it, which is bliss. It's absolute bliss. So maybe I should get it. No, I have a C6. So yes, I think our work is largely done, apart from the bits that can't be done. So I suppose the next thing to do is start the engine up. We'll make sure the engine starts. Make sure there are no horrible noises. And make sure this exhaust doesn't leak.